Today, we're going to talk about why I'm very, very excited about the prospects of limited play in the next set of Flesh and Blood Outsiders. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Outsiders is the most anticipated, exciting, and most important set of Flesh and Blood yet. Don't you guys just love that, right? It feels like every time we get a new set announced, it feels like, certain content creators that do like the hour plus 5 bids or say hyping the same stuff, saying the same stuff over and over and over again. But hey, at least it's positive hype, and you know what? I love it. But no, is this the most important set of Flesh and Blood? No. But that said, based on some chatter we've seen, specifically the press release notes from James White himself, I do think that there are things to be very specifically excited about in this next set. Primarily for me, the statements around limited play. Hello everyone, and welcome to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. That's right, we're doing my version, I suppose, of an Outsiders hype vid, right? So to start off, what I would like to do is bring up, there's a number of articles out there, and the one I chose is from ICV2. And there's a good article there summarizing the release. And, it's pretty cool that Flesh and Blood's getting big enough that, there's, multiple outlets out there covering a press release for the new set. That's pretty cool, right? So what I'd like to do is draw your eyes down to what I have highlighted kind of down here, right? Fans of Brewster drafting are in for a real treat, said White. We are taking fans back to good old-fashioned all-melee combat for the first time since Welcome to Rathe, while introducing a new drafting mechanic never before seen in Flesh and Blood. Right, so I think that's really, really, really cool. So I will be honest, and I've been public about it before, it should not come as a surprise to many of you. I have not, let's be honest, a lot of the sets that have been coming out, we see a press release similar to this, and it's like, it's going to be a great draft set. It's our best draft set yet. And that's not content creators, that's the LSS pushing it. I haven't been overall myself, and again, this is my enjoyment, other people are different, but I've not been overall impressed with the limited play since basically the WTR block, right? It doesn't mean it's been bad, but I have thought that there's a lot that's needed improved, right? By and large, when you have a set, again, this is my opinion, but when you have a set that introduces arcane damage non-equally, it creates a lot of problems. Where we saw, in ELE, Tales of Aria, Briar was really, really, really stupid good in limited play. And remember, there are two versions of limited play. There's sealed and there's draft, and the two are obviously very, very, very different. And you see sealed generally on pre-release weekend, which makes sense functionally. It also goes faster. But when you have sealed, it's really just a crapshoot on what stuff you get. And because statistically most people aren't going to get the good stuff for said hero, a lot of people default to the general best hero, right? We saw that over and over and over again in Tales of Aria, for example. It was Briar, right? Because Rosetta Thorn is stupid good. And there was no effective AB in that set, right? And that was Arcane Barrier in that set. That was a problem. And then fast forward to Dynasty to a certain extent, Phi was the favorite. Now that kind of undermines my argument, I grant you, about Arcane Barrier. But then if you go to the draft of Dynasty, and again, you guys can recall from the press releases back then, Dynasty was one of the best limited experience, or one of the best draft experiences we've ever seen in Fab, as per the press release. And you ended up having, by and large, 5 or 4 Phis, you'd have 1 or 2 Dramais, and then you'd have 1 or 2 Icelanders, right? However the thing happened. And a lot of that was, again, driven by... Dynasty was a little different in that, I'll grant you that, right? Dynasty was different than there was a Triangle, right? But all that aside, right? This isn't a pooping on the limited formats of Flesh and Blood. That's not what this is. I know that's kind of what it turned into. Right, but the reason I'm excited about it is if you really do harken back to WTR, you didn't so much have, like we saw in Dynasty, which was that triangle thing, right? So Dramai was good into Icelander. Icelander was pretty good into Phi. Phi was pretty good in Dramai. So you had the roundabout, which it does make a good draft environment at the high end, but it makes it feels bad in limited play when you sit down and you're against the hero who is basically designed to beat you. And we didn't see that, in my opinion, we didn't see that in WTR, right? Whoever you sat down against, for the most part, it felt like you had a pretty good matchup. And That's for two reasons. One, you didn't have the triangle type thing, and you also didn't have AB, or Arcane. Not AB. Well, you didn't have AB back then because there was no Arcane, right? You guys get me. But you didn't have the Arcane concern, right? And I think that is really a lot of why I'm excited is, again, we don't know what this new drafting mechanic will be. I'm not going to speculate on it. It's not what I want to do. We have no info, so whatever. But returning to just generic melee combat should, in theory, make everybody on a more even playing field with each other, as opposed to you beat me, I beat you, right? And even if you go, what somebody's screaming at the screen right now is, well, Monarch didn't have Arcane in it, which is true, right? Which is true, mostly. But Prism was very, very, very good. And it also had some of a I beat you, you beat me type thing, right? Prism was very, very good. If you drafted or you opened the gloves, you pretty much just played Prism, right? And unless you ran up against Levia, for the most part, you were fine playing Prism because you could just throw these massive attacks. Again, it doesn't mean she was unbeatable. Chane could do his thing. He was pretty good. But by and large, Levia was the main stop for Prism. But Levia had serious problems not killing herself in the format. So you kind of, again, it wasn't quite the same cycle, right, that we saw like in something like Dynasty. But it was that main thing of like not very many people wanted to play Levia in limited play in the set. And since she was the cap to Prism, who was very, very, very good in limited, it really didn't work. And in my opinion, again, it didn't work. It doesn't mean it was bad, but it didn't work the same as in WTR, where everybody really had pretty much, like, if you're Dorinthea sitting down versus Katsu, the game could go either way. If you're Katsu sitting down against Bravo, the game could go either way. Rhinar could absolutely have great stuff in either sealed or draft, right? So that is my hope out of all of this. That's the thesis statements. My hope out of all of this is because we're returning to a old-fashioned melee combat where everything will be equal playing field, that things will be more of a equal playing field, meaning I can pick hero A. Right, we don't know how many heroes are going to be in the set. For some reason, my gut is telling me it's going to be more than 3. It's just what I'm feeling. Hoping, maybe, either way. But it would be really nice if we didn't have this circular type thing and you could sit down and be successful against anybody. I think it would really open it up. I think it would make, right, if you could open your 6 packs on release weekend and know that you weren't going to have to force 5 for the most part, I think that would be really cool, right? I'm really looking forward to bringing that back. It's very easy to say, well, WTR was the best because, you're an old man and nostalgia. True. But I really do think that was the best set overall that we've drafted. And I know there's a lot of people out there who do agree with me on that. So anyway, let me know what you were thinking. Are you along the same lines as me? That, limited necessarily hasn't been my jam for, right? Everybody loves limited. We love cracking packs, getting it on the table. But sometimes you're like, this set's not for me. I feel like the last couple sets of Fab have not been for me in terms of that format. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Let me know if you feel the same way or if you disagree. Let me know in the comments below. Either way, thanks for tuning in, folks. Coming in March. It's actually not that far away. Start saving those pennies in the penny bank. Nothing else. Go Commando.